Hello there everyone, it's Ben Simpson again from Vibe Manchester. Just going to do a series of quickie reviews of stuff that's been released in the last week or so, both on the television front and the film front. As we all know, it's somewhat of a dry season when it comes to new media, but there is stuff trickling out there, and I thought I'd give my thoughts on these three things. So the first thing is the South Park Pandemic Special that aired last week. I'm a big fan of South Park, somehow it's retained its quality for I think over 25 years now. And Matt Stone and Trey Parker have proved themselves with adapting with the times and becoming one of the more must-watch satirical shows on television. So when this pandemic special was announced, that would be an hour long, I was definitely invested and compelled to watch it to see their take on these ridiculous times that we're currently living in. And the pandemic special touches upon not only obviously the COVID-19 and lockdown aspect of all our lives, but also the Black Lives Matter, the riots, and even at the end it somehow incorporates the California wildfires. Now, is this episode as strong as it could have been? Probably not. There's some gags that kind of go nowhere and don't have a lot of energy to them. The whole mustache subplot doesn't really have much of a payoff. And in my opinion, there's probably more material of seeing the South Park, the town, actually start to go into lockdown than just coldly opening with it being in the midst of the lockdown already. I thought there was comedic potential to see how South Park would have dealt with the initial news reports and the shutting down of businesses that we all lived in. But there's definitely some of that razor-sharp satirical wit that Matt Stone and Trey Parker do so well that ends up on this pandemic special. I loved how the police officers were all out of work, so they had to replace all the teachers, and how the police officers were portrayed as these just violent buffoons all the way through the episode as these childlike morons was really quite funny. And also its portrayal of Mr. Garrison as Donald Trump, which the show has spun its wheels with for a few years now, does definitely pay off with Mr. Garrison as Trump completely neglecting the COVID situation, and actually the somewhat dark twist is actually using it to get rid of all the races that oppose him. And also the episode ends with a rare sentimental ending, which South Park doesn't really get into sentimentality all that much, but when they do, it's especially profound as the show is mostly very absurd, and Stan's end monologue is quite poignantly relatable, I think. So if you're a fan of the show, definitely give it a watch. It's not as show-defining episode that it was built up to be, but still quite good. Next, I've watched the first 3 episodes of Fargo Season 4. Fargo is a TV drama that its first 3 seasons were absolutely spectacular, especially its second season. The way it kind of parallels the Coen Brothers style, but yet alternates into its own indistinguishable style is very, very impressive. And the lyrical dialogue, the way the show is shot is so intoxicating. It's cast of colourful characters. All the strongest points of the previous 3 seasons end up in the 4th season, as it takes place in the 40s, and by that assumption and the way everyone is dressed and behaves, it has a very similar style to Boardwalk Empire. It's almost like an unofficial crossover between Boardwalk Empire and Fargo. So far, it's the cast of characters and the great actors they've got to play them that really are holding the show together at the moment. Jessie Buckley, who's an actress who's really on the come-up, just delivering great performances in everything she's in, is stealing the show as this scary, almost angel of death nurse that is slowly fanning the flames of this gang rivalry, and she plays it so well. The kind of stuttering, fidgety, bubbly persona is such a joy to watch, and she can definitely delve into the more kind of villainous portrayal as the show goes on, which I believe she will do, and become the big bad of the season, which in previous seasons, the big bad villain of the show is the strongest character of them all. And it seems that motif is continuing in this 4th season. Now, the show is not perhaps hitting all the cylinders as the previous 3 seasons have so far. I mean, you have to bear in mind it's only been 3 episodes, so it's kind of hard to judge. Definite tonal issues going on. There's scenes that are definitely meant to be funny that aren't quite hitting me as well as they should. Especially in the last episode, there's this bank heist that there's a lot of kind of farting gags going on, and it was kind of cringe to watch, and rare for a show of this quality and prestige to dip into debauchery as it was doing was kind of weird to see. And what is also weird to see is the landscape not sharing the same characteristic as the 3 previous seasons. When you think Fargo, you think of these, snowy small towns, and yet we're watching this one where the landscape is so different. It's, a very kind of urban cosmopolitan borough with no snow, and I'm surprised at the swiftness of this location change, and it kind of loses somewhat of its tone as the snowy, wintry, frosty weather is such a pathetic fallacy used so much that I'm puzzled as to why it's not being utilised here. But the show has started off somewhat strong. Again, it's just the colourful characters that the writer Noah Hawley is got such a gift at coming up with that it stays interesting to watch. So yeah, if you're a fan of the previous 3 seasons, I see no reason why to start this one, even though it's gonna struggle reaching the heights of especially the first 2 seasons so far. Next, releasing Imax this week is Akira, the famous anime film. Now, I have to stress that I'm not really a big fan of anime. My knowledge is very entry level of the whole entire genre. I've only watched some of the big, classic anime films. I haven't really dipped to any of the TV shows, exception of, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon when I was a kid. Akira is definitely one of the more stronger anime films that I've seen. The level of creativity and vision is outstanding in this film. The animation, even though it was made in the mid-80s, is still such a treat for the eyes. And the bombastic nature of the film is just all-engulfing. I mean, it kind of holds all your senses at hostage. And the film's grandness just builds and builds and builds to such a degree where, at the end, you're kind of feeling like you're watching the craziest, biggest, gargantuan film, you've ever seen. I mean, I really don't have much to say about this film that hasn't already been said, the groundbreaking nature of it, how it's one of the first anime films to infiltrate Western culture and kind of let everyone know of the art style. The amazing score that is mostly just drums and kind of tribal vocals. Everything about this film hits all cylinders, and even though the medium of anime itself is not my thing, I can definitely hugely appreciate what this film is aiming for. And seeing it on IMAX is just the way to see it, as the wide panoramic presentation is just so intoxicating and at times overwhelming in a very kind of warped, disturbing sense. So yeah, if you can catch this and are safe at going to see it at the IMAX, I highly recommend you do, especially if you haven't watched it before.